So basically, best way in my opinion is unless you have a plan with your liberal arts degree. If you want to be a teacher, go to study English, but on a finance one where I think most people want money. I mean, a hard technical background with connections, soft skills can send you wherever you want to go. If you want to start your own business, I've met plenty of oil millionaires, and I've met plenty of people who want to try to start a business after college with their whatever degrees in like internet marketing or internet selling websites. It works fine, but I mean, if you're in oil, it's a lot more money flying around, and you're a lot more niche market, so it's easier to start a business there too.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have the connections to go into, or you can court on the market like that in oil, such as oil trading, like let's say you came up the ranks and you went to Trafigura and Glencore for your summer internships. I mean, for sure, you'd be sitting pretty warm and tight over there in one of those firms trading right now.
Yeah, you'd be
yeah, for sure. I mean, you would not want to advertise to the world that you have very high potential making consistent 7-figure salaries, bonuses.
Well, I mean, like it's like I don't think. I think most people don't have the capability to buy that much oil. I mean, you probably have to have a multinational corporation or some guy with a lot of money and a lot of risk tolerance to buy crude from Nigeria and send it over to somewhere else. I mean, it's like in itself, it's a massive operation that has a lot of risk, a lot of money. But I mean, who off the street is going to buy a tanker full of crude? Come on.
Yeah, we're getting a little off topic, but yeah, that's like if you have a certain. So what I advocate for people is if you have a certain edge, like if you're really good at sailing, but you just happen to have a degree in engineering, you said, well, I have to stay true to be an engineer.
Just whatever.
Exploit your edge, go into a market where you can just whip everybody upside the head and just dominate. And then when you're making money hand over fist, you're not really going to care that whether you have an engineering degree or non-technical degree. If you're making it well and you're living happy, it is what it is. Now, if you're miserable doing what you do and you hate your life and you want to blow your brains out, well, you probably should change major before all that happens. So what I call it, a 9mm and Xanax moment. Like when you run into those moments, you better learn to not do anything detrimental to your life and walk out of there in one piece. Yeah, it's terrible, but a lot of what I illustrated in my post to these guys is look, like there's a lot of people don't do a full disclosure. Like you and I did a full disclosure telling everybody that we're engineers and we're going to sales. So yes, are we biased? Absolutely, we're biased. But I mean that we're telling our life story, so we have every right to be.
Yeah. But, so I mean, like also if you want to go to finance, studying petroleum engineering is great. There's a whole I didn't know this. There's a whole team of engineers, all the big firms that just do banking work. They get paid the same as bankers, I found out, and they do M&A, mergers and acquisitions for oil, which is very complex.
Yes, absolutely. Like you're heading here to Houston. A lot of those firms that you talked about are here. If you can't get into a specific firm, you can for sure get into a Big Four where they have divisions that just do auditing and/or advisory to the said operations of mergers and acquisitions, M&A. Yeah, I'm following. Market. So in every market, there's market makers, promoters, lenders, and then there's some entity that's trying to promote, right? So let's say if Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao fight, well, there's obviously a promotion company. They're going to run ads. There's a distribution company called HBO. They're going to pump this thing for a couple months and do a lead up to the main event, and then you have all the weigh-ins, and it's very public. Same thing for college. When like who's looking at who's promoting it, and there's really no clear alternative right now. So your parents, your friends.
College, I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, okay, you go to college or you start a business, and I don't know any 18-year-old who has a real business plan. Very, very few.
No way. I mean, not the typical 18-year-old, and for sure without that.
I mean, college does set you up. I'm not going to say it's bad. I would say minimize debt, but in conclusion, just do the best thing that's for you. I mean, if you want to be a lawyer, even though we have too many lawyers, arguably, if your uncle owns a law firm and he says he'll give you a job, you can go to law school. That's fine. I mean, just do the best thing for you. Which if you're a complete non-target, you might not get into Wall Street. Studying engineering might be a better choice because you can then go into engineering if you don't get into banking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you shoot for the stars and land on the moon, you still be all right.
Yeah.
And shooting for the stars, let's say it would be going to finance or high finance, and then if you end up back in a cubicle in engineering, you're not gonna be that bad off because the learning experience you have by walking that path, you would be very set to not be just a typical engineer. You'd probably be somewhere in the finance, rubbing elbows with a financial something in your firm because you had that experience with the banks.
So basically, I mean, just find the best chance of success. I mean, if you think you can get into a top 14 law school and be at the top of your class, go do it. But if you don't think you can, I mean, engineering and patent law is not, from what I've seen, is not saturated. So if you patent law instead of regular law, you're set. Nobody wants to sit there and analyze diagrams all day of stuff because it's too hard.
Yeah, and going back to the response I had, so the people who are promoting it, you have to see why, right? Of course, your parents want you to have a stability in your job, but we already touched on stability and how that the stability is not really stability; it's more like equilibrium. And they're pushing people because their job that they're pushing you to may not be stable equilibriums. They're actually now unstable equilibriums. And those jobs are very high risk for outsourcing or automation. And then you got to look at promoters. We'll say, well, there's a lot of advertising. I just saw something today. It says U.S. News international rank of colleges. Well, there's a lot of people that have incentive, just like the bond agencies that rated these MBSs. They have incentive because they're paid to rate. So, it's kind of like there is inherent bias. And then there's obviously lenders, federal or private, that makes money off of people taking on debt, like you alluded to, and of course corporations to say we like to have these people from these schools. Like we know from oil industry that a person from Kansas University or somewhere in Houston thereabouts has way better chance of making it in Exxon than maybe someone from Stanford or MIT because they're for our industry target schools.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to MIT, I think they probably recruit. If you go to Stanford, actually has a grad petroleum engineering program. But if you head to some random liberal arts school, it's really hard to get those companies because at all the other schools, you can walk up to the booth, hand in your resume, get into campus interviews, internships, where everywhere else you're stuck applying online or networking your way in. So I mean, heading to for oil, heading to like New Mexico Tech, even I had an advisor who went there, might be better than going to liberal arts school, top 10 liberal arts school in Northeast. It probably is.
Oh, sure. And that's the power of target schools. I think that's what U.S. News does not advertise. So you really have to find these target, like for us in WSO, it's very clear what target schools are feeders. Yeah. But you really have to do some research to find targets. So you can't just go to U.S. News and be like, "What is target school for petroleum?" It's like, nah, buddy, you got to read a little bit.
I mean, any school that has a petroleum engineering program, most of them are target schools.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always network your way in, but if you want to go into oil, being an engineer is the way to do it. I mean, you either you start from the bottom, is like in the oil field, which sucks, or you get an engineering degree and you go into one of numerous roles that are technical, or you can maybe, if you're an accountant, maybe network your way in, but even that's hard. So, I mean, just find out where you want to go.
Barrier to entry is very high. What they'll do is when they see your resume, it's like this. Oh, yeah, Taylor. Oh, he's from no-name school. Oh, yeah, no, next. And probably not even that.
So it's not even that. I mean, I finished from LSU studying petroleum engineering, and there's a lot of LSU alumni. I mean, if you say LSU, it honestly isn't that great of a school. But for oil, there are a lot of guys who went there. It's like going to like Harvard, not Harvard, but like for oil, it's like
that's a fraternity, man. That's we talked a little bit about that. It's getting in that club, man.
So like what happens is like send an email to go and went to LSU. He's like, oh hey, how's it going? Yeah, sure. I'll take a look at your resume versus.
Yeah. I understand. Anyways, yeah, no, absolutely. So to circle back on this kid's topic here, to really answer his question, how do you hedge yourself? I think the only way to hedge yourself fully is to be aware of what's going to happen. So listen to what the big players are talking about. For instance, the World Economic Forums, the Fed reserves publish reports, et cetera, the guys with the very big macro perspectives, not Business Insider, but guys with real legitimate outlook on or IMF, International Monetary Fund, look into these big players and what they're doing and how they're analyzing the world and what they're saying, what 10, 20, 30 years will look like, and then go from there.
Agree.
Any words of wisdom to finish up this episode here, Taylor?
I've said it all. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So to wrap things up, for whoever's listening, get a technical degree, hedge yourself against any kind of uncertainty. At the very minimum, you can get a pretty decent high 5, if not low 6-figure job. Try to strike into finance, try to strike into these higher paying jobs when you have the leverage to do so while you're still young. stack your internships and line up your education in that route, and be very aggressive in getting it, because if you're not, someone else is just gonna take your lunch and eat it every single time, and see what happens. I mean, if at the worst you'll still have a very decent paying job, at the best you'll be Mark Cuban giving out bullshit advice to people about going into liberal arts in next years, and then talking to Business Insider. So it is what it is.